Hello and welcome to another rousing edition of Trending Topics with BB. I am your humble host, Brooke Brown, hence the BB. Well, before I get into the necessary soapbox episode, I like to get my housekeeping out of the way. So if you have yet to log on to the official website, trendingtopicswithbbpodcast.com, feel free to bookmark that at any time. Again, that is trendingtopicswithbbpodcast.com. There you will have links to new episodes, and also there's a link to the merchandise page where you can buy merchandise that helps keep this podcast alive, or just show your support for what I'm doing. It's just t-shirts and sweatshirts and stickers and anything from our partners at TeePublic to show support for the podcast. Like I said, I get a little bit of the proceeds to help support this podcast and keep it alive. And as you are hearing in the background, there's helicopters. I currently reside in the city of Los Angeles, and before I get to what I'm going to talk to, that's why you're hearing helicopters. Just a little bit of a tease. To finish up housekeeping, if you are listening to this episode on any of the many different platforms out there, but primarily Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, anywhere where you can leave a rating and a comment, please do so. It helps this podcast be found by other listeners. And since this is a podcast that is available around the world, I want to thank any new and returning listeners for listening to this podcast. But I'm fired the fuck up, so I need to get on my soapbox. So here we go. For those that are not privy to what's happening in the world, the U.S. right now is going through some shit. Alright, so if you're not aware, the world is going through the pandemic that is the coronavirus or COVID-19. If you listen to the previous episode, I talked about mental health going down because of it, and kind of wanted to be transparent about how I've been feeling, how many people are feeling out there. If you are having issues and trouble with your mental health and need some help, some ideas and possibility help that you could seek out in the forum. So feel free to check out the previous episode. But back to what this soapbox is about. This is about civil unrest. So for those that don't know, and that can't tell based on the logo / avatar of this podcast, I am multiracial. I am half Caucasian, half black, with a little bit more races mixed in there. So basically I'm multiracial. I could go down the many lineages and the many different branches of what I'm made of. But my father is African American and my mom is Caucasian, white, with French, Italian, all kinds of lovely flavors and delights mixed in. And I love my parents very much, and I'm proud to be multiracial. But I want to go on my fucking soapbox right now. So, for those of you that aren't living on the internet, I don't know how you're not at this time of age, you may or may not have seen the new video this past week of the horrific murder in broad daylight by the system and the police of George Floyd. This is, of course, on the heels of the horrific murder of Ahmaud, I don't know how to say it correctly, Arbery, from... or I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but anyway, in February of this year, being tracked down and shot with a shotgun. That horrific tale. And both of these incidents have been caught on some sort of camera phone, so there is evidence. But I feel the need to get on my fucking soapbox about this, so buckle up. So not only are people fed up with... Well, I think let's just start. Before I say anything, if you're somebody that has YouTube and the internet, please search an 18-minute video by Trevor Noah of The Daily Show. He posted yesterday, but whenever you're listening to this, it's already up. Anyway, he eloquently puts this more in kind of perspective, but I wanted to give my fucking 2 cents of how I feel about what's going on. And basically to say how I'm feeling, because I'm just as triggered, frustrated, and maybe want to give a perspective from somebody who has lived this their entire life and actually really wouldn't be in existence if civil rights wasn't actually a movement, because I'm multiracial, as I explained at the top of this episode. So, to go back with the horrific video of George Floyd being killed and murdered by police, the reason why everybody's fucking pissed and protesting right now, and we're on the bridge of an American Revolution, which is overdue in my case, because now that I live in LA, I remember in school and growing up learning about the LA riots of the 90s, early 90s, like 92, based on the Rodney King verdict. And I figured by 2020 we would be a little bit more astute to what really is the reality of a society that is failing people. The U.S. society, instead of people being able to... There is no equality. I mean, let's just really put it... You may be a person out there that believes that you inherently aren't doing anything racist or racist in nature, that you're not a racist, that you're totally against racism. But people are not realizing the definition of what it means to be white privileged, what the movement Black Lives Matter mean, why we are in this perpetual fucking frustration as people that are within the community, myself included. And it's a whole nother layer. I could go into a later about what it means to be half black, because a lot of people don't know really what to think of me as a person, because they can't really pinpoint what race I am, because some people can pinpoint, even having not met my family, that I am half black, half white. Some people think I'm Hispanic, I don't know if that's, or Mexican, or of some sort of descent like that. Some people think I might be Middle Eastern in descent. Not that don't take that the wrong way. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying people are really ignorant to the fact that there are people who look different than them, who have different experiences and perspectives on the world based on how they have to live their lives. I guess I should go in the segue. I grew up in a conservative, small retirement community in Arizona, and in northern Arizona. And this city is to this day ignorant and racist, to the point that even growing up in my lifetime, I experienced blatant racism and ignorance, to the point where I'm ashamed of where I grew up. I don't like my hometown. I never want to go back to my hometown. And now that most of my family has moved out of my hometown and into other cities, I'm glad I don't have to go back there, because all I remember is just being in elementary school or middle school and having to deal with racist stuff. Like, for instance, not being able to get served in a shop because of the color of my skin and me being with my father, or being at a stoplight and being called the N-word because I was with my father in a car minding our own goddamn business. Alright? So I know what it's like in modern times, and I'm talking, this is like the late 90s, early 2000s, when these incidents were happening. I'm not talking like this was so long ago on the ending of the main civil rights movement. I wasn't alive then. Second of all, I was born in 88, so that means it was on the outside of the 80s. So technically, this is basically, as Will Smith is credited with this quote, we're now in the point of history where racism isn't getting worse, it's just getting filmed. We have camera phones. I believe that people wouldn't be this aware of how black, brown, and anybody who is of color in this country is treated every fucking day if there wasn't some sort of evidence in the form of a video that goes viral on the internet. Thank God that this is happening, and it's making people wise up to what the fuck is happening in this country. But the fact that this system is systematically so fucked up, because It's blatantly obvious that politicians, corporations, and people that are of white privilege value materialistic and value their privilege a lot more than their fellow man who might have a different skin color. Okay? And what this is proven during the COVID-19 lockdown, because as you can find out factually by Googling it, communities of color have been hit harder by this pandemic than other communities because they blatantly, economically, social, and in class situations do not have the resource to combat, and they're not getting the funding from the government and the support to help in this situation. And then on top of that, as we very well know that I spoke about in the last episode, people don't have jobs. People are losing their livelihoods. They're losing really their hope. There's so much uncertainty. We don't know when this pandemic, if there's going to be a second wave. There's so many fucking conspiracy theories out there. Nobody knows what to fucking believe anymore. That people are fed up. And the fact that the system is so fucked up. And then we have this blatant murder happen this past week that is compounded on the fact that even before that happened, a woman got caught on camera making a complaint. I don't even want to give her a name, but say her name. But she's out walking her dog and then basically commits some sort of abuse to her dog, and then sees a black man or African American man in the area that she is doing said act. And instead of owning up to what the fuck she was doing, she knew that she could take her white privilege and knows that the system will believe what she did. So she calls the cops saying that this man was committing this crime and doing this shit. And it's all caught on camera by innocent bystanders that were in the area. Because she knows that her white privilege would work to her fucking advantage. I'm glad that she has been called on that. Glad that they've taken her dog from her. That she lost her job. But the point is, she didn't think she was going to get any of those consequences. Glad that there is some sort of evidence in video that people saw what the fuck went down. But that's the thing. It's this type of shit happens every fucking day in every fucking community of this country. And because it's now caught on camera and it goes viral, people are more aware of it. But wake the fuck up. This shit needs to stop. This shit needs to be... If you're one of those people that don't think this happens every day, then you're part of the problem. You're within the system. You're perpetuating your privilege and your ignorance on the fact that people have to deal with this injustice and inequality every fucking day. And while even in myself being multiracial, I might not have it as hard as some of other people of color in this country, because again, like I explained, people don't really know how to classify me, which is a whole nother soapbox I guess I could go on. Basically, I have to be careful in how I live my life. Luckily, I've had a wonderful family. I've had a wonderful upbringing. I've been through a lot of adversity, so I've been able to be educated and continue to learn and be educated and lead a life that hopefully will keep me out of trouble or keep me out of harm's way. But again, I have to live my life knowing that maybe I'm not going to be served because they'll be like, oh, she's black, or any other circumstance that could possibly happen on the cusp of systematically being fucking racist. In the back of my mind, that's always the last thing I think of. Am I being treated a certain way because of the color of my skin? And like I said, sometimes I feel guilty, and I probably shouldn't feel guilty because of my circumstance, but nonetheless, I understand the frustration, and I'm fired up just as much as all of these protesters out here. And to go back, for all of those people who are mad about the protesting and looting, while I don't condone violence and looting people's livelihoods is sad. I feel it's justified in this moment because years ago you had people in high-profile situations such as a Colin Kaepernick of the NFL peacefully kneel to prove a point, and not just Colin Kaepernick, and a lot of different professional athletes did some sort of silent, peaceful protest to prove this point about the systematic racism that happens every day and the police brutality and the inequality that people are experiencing. And everybody was pissed about their protest years ago. So I feel that the looting and the protesting that is going on right now on the cusp of this murder is justified, because obviously the peaceful protest didn't get it across to people to take it fucking seriously, to understand that Black Lives Matter, right. And to those, another thing I want to address that a lot of people are pointing out, Black Lives Matter does not mean that inherently that your life didn't have some sort of struggle, that didn't have. What Black Lives Matter means is that we matter just as much as you. So to respond with all lives matter blatantly shows your ignorance on understanding of what the point we're trying to make. Yes, that's what we're saying. All lives do matter. But in the sense of the racism and brutality that people are experiencing, the statistics prove that people of color, specifically African Americans, get the brunt of the inequality every fucking. And while people think that ignoring these injustices, that going about your own life, not doing anything, not trying to get educated yourself or educate others around you about how you can be better for your fellow human, that's on you. But it's also why people are so fed up and fucking pissed right now. And we're on the brink of we're in the middle of another revolution. And I really hope this makes people fucking wake the fuck up and realize that you can't, this shit is not just happening in the movies or TV shows. I mean, the reason you're seeing it more in probably entertainment is to probably get it across to society. Hey, look, pay attention. This isn't just a made-up trope or archetype or storyline. This shit happens to people every fucking day. And just because it's not always caught on camera doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So I may have, obviously, as you see, I'm uncensored. I don't probably speak as eloquently as Trevor Noah on basically what I'm trying to say about the civil unrest in this country. But I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired just as much as majority of this country. And when is this going to change? When are people going to figure out that this can't continue on any longer? And as you're hearing, the background noise of what's going on during the protest and in the situation, because I live close to downtown Los Angeles. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna register to vote? Are you going to, if you can't get out and protest, are you gonna protest in some sort of way? Are you gonna take action? Are you gonna vote out people that you know are basically causing harm to your fellow citizens, your fellow humans? Are you gonna get active in some way, whether that is helping somebody out in your community, doing what you can to learn and help your fellow human? Because at the end of the day, we're all the same. We're all made up of cells and human. But are you not inherently realizing that maybe if you think you aren't racist, you might be? And if you okay, here's a check. If you've ever said the phrase, I'm not racist, but you're racist. Just think about it for a second. Let that marinate. The phrase, I'm not racist. If you have to disclaim something, you're not negating the fact that whatever is going to come out of your mouth would inherently be racist. Just saying. People have said shit like that to me many times. I've been around people that have said shit like that to other people. And I just shake my head. I just go, how blatantly ignorant and racist are you to believe that if you say the phrase, I'm not a racist, but that takes it away. That's not how this works. I don't think, just think about that. And I know that there will be people that are listening to this episode that are in other countries that are probably going, what the fuck is happening in the U.S.? And I, again, applaud you for listening to this podcast. But it does, I'm not going to lie, make me ashamed to kind of be born and raised here in the U.S. because these hardships, this social injustice, the inequality of the system, everything that I've just spoke about, and being who I am, and blatantly, if it wasn't for the civil rights movement, I literally wouldn't be in existence. So that's why I come from a different perspective, being of different races, and how I grew up, and where I grew up, and where I come from. Every goddamn day I have to live my life knowing that the system may fuck me up, or past struggles to get to where I am now. So I guess to sum up this soapbox that I'm currently on, that to some maybe I'm talking in circles, but I'm fired up. I'm just frustrated. I'm just as pissed off as everybody out protesting, because it's blatantly racist murder that we witnessed on camera. And if you're not outraged by what is going on, you are part of and it needs to stop. So on that note, I want to thank you for listening, and please stay safe, but also stay vigilant.